Today's session we are going to continue with the unit number 4, that is Introduction to Business Intelligence, and we are going to cover following points. First one is how to store unstructured data. In this we are going to see some of the challenges and possible solutions of how to store unstructured data. How to extract information from unstructured data. Then once you identify the structured data, then you need to extract the information from unstructured data. Again, we are going to see the challenges and some of the solutions to extract the data from the unstructured data. And then we begin with the semi-structured data. So this is the outline of today's session. We are going to start with the how to store unstructured data. Before we start, we are going to see some of the challenges to store the unstructured data. Now we have understood what is unstructured data, what kind of unstructured data, and what a particular data is called as unstructured data. So these are some of the challenges faced to store the unstructured data. So first is storage space. To store unstructured data, it is in the form of different forms as well as with the large amount of files. So main challenge is storage space. So sheer volume of unstructured data and its unprecedented growth make it difficult to store. Audios, videos, images, etc. acquire huge amount of storage space. So this is the one kind of challenge you will face while storing the unstructured data, because data is increased randomly, and this data will consist audio files, videos, images, and all these data require huge amount of space to store. So one of the challenge faced to store the unstructured data is storage space. Next is scalability. So scalability becomes an issue with an increase in unstructured data. Once your data is increased, then there is a problem of scalability. You cannot handle that data in proper way because data is in huge form. Next is retrieve information. Data, it is already in a unstructured format. We cannot have a standard model to store it, so it will help us to retrieve the data. This doesn't happen in case of unstructured data. So retrieving and recovering unstructured data are cumbersome. So data, it is not in structured format, it is in unstructured format. So one of the challenge faced is how to retrieve the information in proper way. Next is security. Insurance security is difficult due to varied source of data. Your data comes from different sources and it could be difficult to maintain the security of your data, because data comes from email, web pages, from videos, audio, and so on. So there will be a difficulty for maintaining the security. Next is update and delete. Updating and deleting are not easy due to unstructured form. So you can understand, if you have a structured data, then all these operations will be in easy way because data is in a structured form. But our data is itself in the form of unstructured form, so all these challenges will be faced due to this unstructured form. So you cannot easily update as well as delete the unstructured data. Also, indexing and searching is again another issue with respect to unstructured data. Because data is unstructured, you need to have a different strategy to give the indexing, and that will help you to search and retrieve the information. So again, to form indexing, you need to have a different strategy, and it is a little bit complex due to unstructured data form. Indexing becomes difficult with increase in data. Searching is difficult for non-text data. So your data is in the form of non-text, I mean video files, audio files, then it will be difficult to search a particular data. So these are the challenges faced to store the data while storing the unstructured data. So what are the possible solutions for this? Now we have seen these are some of the challenges and how to provide solutions. First is change the formats. Structured data may be converted to formats which are easily managed, stored and searched. So whatever data you are having, it is in different forms, and you need to keep it in a particular form. So in that case, you need to do the convert to a particular format, which will be easily managed, stored and searched. For example, IBM is working on providing a solution which converts audio video files to text. So data, it is in the form of audio and video, where the scene it gets converted into text, and which will be easy for searching and indexing. While retrieving the data, you will get the data in the form of audio and video itself, but while storing data, it gets converted into text. So one of the possible solution is change the formats. Next is new hardware. As your data is in huge amount, you need to have a new hardware. There are two ways we are going for new hardware. First one is data is huge, and next one is data is in the form of unstructured data. So because of these two reasons, we are going for new hardware to store such kind of data. So create the hardware which supports constructed data, either complement the existing storage devices or be a standalone for unstructured data. So with the help of this solution, you can store the huge amount of unstructured data. What you have to do? You need to have a new hardware which will support to store huge amount of unstructured data. Next one is possible solution is RDBMS and blob, that is binary large object files. Whatever video audio files are gets converted into blob and it is stored in RDBMS, and it will be in the form of structured way. So store in relational databases, we support blob, which is binary large objects. So this is the converting formats. You can convert a particular file into blob, and which is binary large object, and this blob files you can keep it in RDBMS, and which will help you to manipulate the data. Next is XML. Whatever unstructured data you are having, convert this into a structured format and keep that data into a XML file. XML allows you to keep your data in structured format, and it is actually allows you to store the data in semi-structured format, but it will remove the ambiguity that unstructured data will face. store in XML, which tries to give some structure to unstructured data by using the tags and elements. Instead of storing unstructured data as it is, just convert this data into XML. It is which is somewhat structured data, and you can do this with the help of tags and elements. Next is cache, content address system, which organizes files based on their metadata. So one of the possible solution for this is cache. So in the cache system, which we store the data or organize the files based on their metadata. Keep in mind, again I am repeating this, metadata is nothing but the data about data. So this is the way to store the unstructured data. So we have seen first the challenges to store the unstructured data, and now in this slide we have seen what are the possible solutions to store the unstructured data. Once you store the data, unstructured data, next task is to retrieve that information. So how to extract information from unstructured data? How to extract information from unstructured data? So before going, we are going to learn for some of the challenges faced to extract the information from unstructured data. So first is interpretation. Unstructured data is not easily interpreted by conventional search algorithms. So one of the challenges is you will face difficulty while interpreting the data. There are some standard algorithms which will not interpret the data in proper way. So this is one of the challenge. Next is tags. As the data grows, it is not possible to put tag manually. As the data grows, it is not possible to put tag manually. This is one of the challenge. And in unstructured data, and in any organization or in any company, data grows. And in that case, to give the tags manually, it is not possible. Next is indexing. Designing algorithm to standard the meaning of the document and then tag or index them accordingly is difficult. So first of all, you need to understand what that particular unstructured data, and based on it you need to give a tag or index to that data, and that index or tag will help you to retrieve the data. But assigning the index, it is again depend on the kind of the unstructured data. So again it is one of the difficulty while retrieve the information from the unstructured data. Next is deriving meaning. Computer programs cannot automatically derive meaning structured from unstructured data. Whatever data, it is in the form of structured data, and whatever computer algorithms are present, they are already predefined, and once you give the proper input, then they will give a proper output. But you have not given the proper input to computer programs, they will not give a proper output. So while deriving the meaning with the help of computer programs of unstructured data, it will be difficult. So this is the challenge to retrieve the information. Next is file formats. Now you will get the idea. There are lots of file formats in unstructured data. Increasing the number of file formats make it more difficult to interpret the data. Data itself is not in the particular format, and there are lots of file formats. it again make it complex to interpret the data. Next is classification and taxonomy. Different meaning conventions followed across the organization make it difficult to classify data. So again, these are the challenges faced while retrieving the information from the unstructured data. So these are the challenges. First one is to interpret the data. It is difficult. To assign tag manually, it is difficult because data is growing randomly. Then indexing, you cannot give a proper indexing. You need to understand the structure of the unstructured data. Then you cannot easily derive the meaning because you will not get a proper input data to the computer programs. There are lots of kinds of unstructured data stored in various file formats. Again, it makes it complex to retrieve the information. And then classification and taxonomy. So these are the challenges faced while extracting information from the unstructured data. Now we are going to learn what are the possible solutions for it. We have seen different challenges. Now we are going to see what are the possible solutions for this. First one is tags. Unstructured data can be stored in virtual repository and be automatically tagged. Don't give the manual tag. You need to give the automatic tag for each element. For example, document provides this type of solution. So you can give a random data or unstructured data automatically tagged. Instead of giving the manual tag to the unstructured data, you give the automatic tag. Next is text mining. To interpret the meaning, you need to do a text mining. So text mining tools help in grouping and classifying unstructured data and analyze by considering grammar, context, and synonyms, etc. So to interpret the meaning of the unstructured data, do the text mining, so it will give you meaningful information. Next one is application platform. Application platforms like XOLAP help extract information from email and XML based documents. So you need to give a proper application format wherein you can store the unstructured data, and this platform will help you to retrieve the data in efficient way. So here it is, for example, XOLAP. It is one of the application format platform which will extract information from email and XML based documents. Classification and taxonomy. Taxonomies with the organization can be managed automatically. Organize data in hierarchical structure. So this is one of the solutions. Next is naming conventions and standards. So following naming conventions or standards across an organization can greatly improve storage and retrieval. If you make the policy to give a standard naming conventions across your organization, then it will be easy. It will help to store the data and retrieve the data from the unstructured data. These are some of the solutions which will help you to easily retrieve the data from unstructured data. Next, I am going to start with the semi-structured data. Semi-structured data does not conform to any data model. Again, keep in mind, this will not conform to any data model. Data model means it is one kind of structured which will decide how to keep your data. So again, this semi-structure not conform to any data model. It is difficult to determine the meaning of the data. Neither can data be stored in rows and columns as in the database, but semi-structured data has tags. Keep in mind, this semi-structured data has tags and markers, which help them to group the data and describe how data is stored, which will give some metadata, but it is not sufficient for management and automation of data. That's why the name given semi-structured. It's not totally unstructured, it is not totally structured, it is in between both. That's why it is called as semi-structured. Some data is structured in structured format, some data is not in structured format. That's why they have given the name semi-structured data. So similar entities in the data are grouped and organized in a hierarchy. The attribute or the properties with a group may or may not be the same. For example, two addresses may or may not contain the same number of properties. So here it is the example. This is your address 1, which will consist house number, and this is called as tag. So whatever you will find in between less than and greater than, it is called as tag. So house number, street name, area name, and city. So these are the different tags, and this address will store this kind of information. Whereas address 2 will consist house number, street name, and city. It will not consist the area name. So area name is present in this address 1, but it is not present in address 2. But it is the data, it is not in the structured format, but it is in semi-structured format. By looking at this example, you can understand the data is present in a semi-structured format. Though it is not totally unstructured and it is not totally structured, but it is a semi-structured. For example, an email follows a standard format. It is a semi-structured data. It will consist the two fields wherein you can give the name to which you are sending the mail. You will receive the from and then name. You will get the name from which you receive the mail. Subject, text, whatever subject you are having for your email. CC, the name, body, text, graphic, images, etc. So this is the semi-structured data. This is one of the example of semi-structured data. The tags give us some metadata. So these tags give us some metadata, but the body of the email contains no format, neither such as the conveys meaning of the data it contains. So in the body, you could have a text, you could have graphics, you could have images. You will not get the exact format of this body tag, but remaining you will get the exact. For to, you will have name. For from, you will have name. For subject, you will have text. CC, again you will have name tag, but here it is you will have multiple tags. So what is semi-structured data? Semi-structured data, it does not conform to a data model but contains tags and elements. Okay, keep in mind it does not conform to data model but it contains tags and elements which will make it semi-structured form. Next, it cannot be stored in form of rows and columns as in a database. You cannot store this semi-structured in the form of rows and columns. The tags and elements describe how data is stored. So these tags and elements will help you to describe how the data is stored or what data is stored. So in semi-structured data, metadata is not sufficient to describe whole data. Attributes in a group may not be the same. As we have seen in example address 1 and address 2, the attributes are not in same group. This address 1 will have different attributes, address 2 will have different attributes, but some attributes are same. So similar entities are grouped. In semi-structured data, whatever similar entities are present, you can group it into one form. So this is the called as semi-structured data, or these are the features of the semi-structured data. Next is from where semi-structured data came from. So it came from email. Now you can understand email will have a standard format. You cannot store it into rows and columns, but you can store some part will store. You can give the tags and elements to the email, and this tag and element or markers will help you to identify that particular contents of the data. Next is in XML. Again, it is you can store the data in the form of tags, and you can give the user defined tags which will help you to store the data in semi-structured format. Then TCP/IP packets, whatever TCP/IP packets will have again a particular format, though it is not a particular in standard structure, but it is in the semi-structured form. Zipped files, again this semi-structured data came from the zipped files. Again it will come from the binary executable files. It comes from markup languages like HTML, integration of data from heterogeneous sources. So these are the sources of the semi-structured data from where you will get the semi-structured data. Email, XML, TCP/IP packets, zipped files, binary executables, markup languages, integration of data from heterogeneous sources. Next is how to manage semi-structured data. How to manage semi-structured data. Some way in which semi-structured data is managed and stored is first is schemas, which will describe the structure and content of the data to some extent. Not in full form, but it will help you to describe the data to some extent. Assign meaning to data, hence allowing automatic search and indexing. So to manage semi-structured data, schemas will help you to some extent. This is graph-based data models, which will contain data on the leaves of the graph, also known as schemaless. One of the example is tree. With the help of tree data structure, we can model this graph-based data model. It is used for data exchange among heterogeneous sources. If you are passing or coming the data from heterogeneous sources, this graph-based data model will help you to do that. Next is XML. Models the data using the tags and element. Schemas are not tightly coupled to data. The schemas are not tightly coupled to data. How to store the semi-structured data? So challenges faced for semi-structured data: storage cost. Storing data with their schemas increases the cost. So this is one of the challenge. Next is RDBMS. Semi-structured data cannot be stored in extending RDBMS as the data cannot be mapped into tables directly. So this is one of the challenge. Irregular and partial structure. Some data elements may have extra information while others none at all. So you will not find the particular data in particular format. This is the somewhat variation or random format of the data. How will you store this data? So this is again one of the challenge: irregular and partial structure of the data. Next is implicit structure. In many cases, the structure is implicit. Interpreting relationship and correlation is very difficult. So again, one of the challenges to store the semi-structured data. Next is evolving schemas. Evolving the schemas. Schemas keep changing with requirements, making it difficult to capture it in the database. So data is not in particular standard format, it is in semi format, so it will be difficult to keep the data in a particular schema. So distinction between the schema and data. What distinction between the schema and data exists at times, making it difficult to capture the data. So these are some of the challenges about how to store the semi-structured data. How to store the semi-structured data.